The stars above are ancient, older than empires, older than legends, older even than the minarets and fortress woes. Shadows still dance like memories of forgotten glory. But once, not so long ago, Moorish hands shaped this land, stone by stone, in silence, in sweat, in devotion. Tonight, we will trace their footsteps. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This is a tale of Al-Andalus, a realm where crescents gleamed on gilded domes, where the air hummed with calls to prayer and market chatter, where knowledge bloomed like desert roses, even as laborers toiled in scorching heat. You may have heard of the libraries, the gardens, the intricate mosaics. But tonight, we begin not with caliphs, not with silk, but with sand and mortar, because before the splendor, there was struggle, and before the legends, there were people, Moors, Andalusians, who built this wonder with calloused hands and unspoken dreams. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This is not just chronicle, it is inheritance. The kind that whispers in ancient courtyards, the kind that lingers in the scent of orange blossom sand, echoes in the splash of hidden fountains. So breathe deep, let the modern world fade away. Let your heartbeat sink with the rhythm of the tale. Let the gentle strum of an oud carry you back through centuries. Because tonight we step into Moorish memories, barefoot, reverent, as if treading on the very dust of time. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Welcome to the story of why you wouldn't last a day as a Moorish craftsman, and why the wonders you created might outlive empires, yet forget your name. The sun rises over, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. But for the builders, the day began hours ago. In the cool pre-dawn, they gathered their tools, chisels sharp enough to shape dreams, hammers heavy with the weight of history. These are not just workers. They are artists, mathematicians, visionaries. Each stone they place is a calculation, each arch a poem in geometry. Yet their backs ache, their hands bleed, their eyes strain in the harsh light of creation. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Can you hear it? The rhythmic tap of chisel on stone, the low chant of prayers, mingling with the clang of metal on metal. This is the music of empire building, the soundtrack of a civilization rising from the dust. But empires are not built on grandeur alone. They are built on the bent backs of the nameless, on the sweat of those whose stories are rarely told. In the narrow streets, a young apprentice stumbles under the weight of his load. His arms tremble, his legs shake, but his eyes shine with the fire of ambition. For he knows that one day his hands might shape the curve of a dome that will touch the very heavens. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. High above, on scaffolding that seems to defy gravity itself, master craftsmen work their magic. Their fingers, gnarled by years of labor, move with the delicacy of butterfly wings. As they set tiny tiles into intricate patterns, each mosaic is a universe unto itself, a kaleidoscope of color and meaning. But beauty comes at a price. The sun beats down mercilessly, the dust chokes, the heights dizzy. Many will not live to see their creations completed, yet still they work, driven by a vision greater than themselves. This is the pulse of Al-Andalus, a heartbeat of creation, of struggle, of faith made manifest in stone and tile and plaster. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As night falls, the workers trudge home, bodies aching but spirits soaring, for they know that tomorrow they will rise again. they will lift their tools, raise their voices in prayer, and continue to build a world of wonder. This is their legacy, not in gold or titles, but in the very foundations of a civilization that will echo through the ages. So remember them, the unnamed, the unsung, for their hands shaped more than stone. They shaped history. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And as the embers of our fire fade, know this: the stars above may be old, but the dreams they witnessed, the dreams of those Moorish builders, those dreams are eternal. The sun rose hard, not soft, not slow. It cracked across the sky like a drumbeat, summoning those who had no choice. The builders were already awake. They did not stretch, they did not sing. They wrapped their heads, kissed their children once, and stepped into the dust. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. You were a Muwallad, a native-born Muslim of African descent, free, but never quite equal. You were not a noble, not a scholar, not a poet. You were a builder. The emirs admired your work, but never invited you to court. The imams prayed near your mosques, but never asked your name. And still, you carried limestone blocks through alleys too narrow for comfort and too wide for dignity. By midday, the heat hit like a second sun. The stones were hot to the touch. The scaffolding groaned. You drank water from a shared gourd, but only when the overseer allowed it. Some days, the master architect would descend from his shaded perch to shout correction sin, a language you barely understood. You bowed, you nodded, you returned to chiseling. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Sometimes your work was praised. Other times it was torn down and begun again. Either way, you were paid the same. Silver coins, just enough to buy grain, olive oil, and soap to scrub the mortar from your skin. You lived outside the city center, where the streets turned to mud when it rained and turned to fire when they didn't. You slept on woven mats. Your tools, your pride, lay beside you like trusted companions. The chisel was your voice, the hammer, your rhythm, the trowel, your prayer. You knew that what you built would outlive you, but not carry your name. You saw white tourists enter mosques 1,000 years later, marveling at the arches you shaped, never once thinking of the dark hands that carved them. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This was the first day, and you had no idea how many more were coming. Stone by stone, praise by silence, sweat by shadow, and still you built beauty. The sun set hard, in not gentle, not gradual. It sank like a hammer striking an anvil, releasing those who had toiled without rest. The builders were already exhausted. They did not laugh. They did not celebrate. They unwrapped their heads, kissed their children twice, and collapsed into the night. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. You were a shadow in the annals of history, a craftsman of African heritage in Moorish Spain, respected but never revered. You were not a conqueror, not a caliph, not a chronicler. You were a creator. The merchants marveled at your structures, but never shared their tables with you. The travelers praised your designs, but never learned your story. And yet, you shaped intricate mosaics in courtyards too grand for your presence end, too small for your legacy. As twilight fell, the chill set in like a whisper. The tools were cold to the touch. The finished wall stood silent. You washed your hands in a communal basin, but only after the skilled artisans had finished. Some nights, The royal patron would pass by on horseback, glancing at your work with eyes that saw art but not the artist. You lowered your gaze, you held your tongue, you dreamed of tomorrow's creations. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Occasionally, your craft was celebrated. More often, it was taken for granted. Either way, your pride remained unshaken. Copper coins, barely enough for dates lamb, and cloth to mend your worn garments. You dwelled in the outskirts, where the air was thick with spices and stories but thin with opportunity and recognition. You rested on simple rugs. Your calluses, your medals, marked your hands like a map of your journey. The plumb line was your compass, the square your judge, the level your balance. You understood that your legacy lived in stone and tile, but not in scrolls or songs. You imagined scholars in distant futures studying your work, analyzing techniques and patterns, never knowing the dreams and sacrifices behind each carved detail. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This was but one chapter, and you couldn't foresee the volumes yet to be written. Arch by arch, dome by dome, vision by vision, and still, you crafted wonder. The stars emerged slowly over, not sudden, not rushed. They dotted the sky like scattered gems, offering solace to those who sought meaning in their labor. The builders were finally at rest. They did not plan, they did not worry. They embraced their families, whispered prayers of gratitude, and surrendered to dreams of grandeur. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. You were a thread in the rich tapestry of Al-Andalus, a Muslim of mixed heritage in a land of cultural fusion. Vital, but often overlooked. You were not a philosopher, not a musician, not a mathematician. You were an architect of the soul. The poets drew inspiration from your creations, but never penned verses about your hands. The astronomers charted stars from your towers, but never recorded your name among the constellations. Nevertheless, you carved arabesques into columns too lofty for your own dwelling and too humble for your true worth. As dawn approached, hope stirred like a gentle breeze. The unfinished projects beckoned. The scaffolding awaited. You broke bread with your fellow laborers, but only the portions allotted to your station. Some seasons, the city would buzz with talk of new commissions, discussions of grand plans in which your skills were essential but your voice unheard. You listened, you envisioned, you prepared to bring dreams to life. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. At times, your innovations were revolutionary. Other times, they were lost in the shadow of greater monuments. Either way, your dedication never wavered. Gold diners, just enough for a feast on Eid, and perhaps a new tool to perfect your craft. You found solace in the workshops, where the rhythmic tapping of chisels and mallets formed a symphony of creation and perseverance. You dreamed on simple palettes. Your aspirations, your true wealth, soared higher than any minaret you'd ever build. The compass was your pen, the geometry, your language, the proportion, your poetry. You realized that your influence would echo through centuries, but not in the way you might have hoped. You envisioned pilgrims from all faiths standing in awe before your mihrab, feeling the presence of the divine, unaware of the mortal hands that channeled that sacredness into stone. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This was merely the foundation, and you could only imagine the heights yet to be reached. Prayer by prayer, inspiration by inspiration, legacy by legacy, and still, you forged harmony. The second day was no different from the first, but your body already knew the weight. The ache behind your knees, the sting in your wrists, the slow grind of your shoulder blades as they fought to carry what no scroll ever recorded. You are not building a simple wall. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The great mosque of was no ordinary project. Its columns stretched like a forest of marble, its arches curved like prayers written in stone. And you stood beneath it all, carrying faith on your back without being allowed to speak in the council of those who drew the plans. Your people came from the south, from the Sahel, from the Atlas, from empires where you were warriors, farmers, traders, but here you were reduced to laborer. Still, you did not break. When the rope snapped, you retied it. When the stone chipped wrong, you recut it. When your hands bled, you wrapped them in palm fiber and went back to work. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. There were whispers among the builders of rebellion, of walking out, but who would listen? You were not the poet of the caliph's court. You were not the imam, nor the tax collector. You were the breath behind the stone, invisible when it stood, indispensable when it fell. And at night, as you returned to your quarters, you passed the fountains you helped craft, but were not allowed to touch. You passed through arches you carved, but were not allowed to pray beneath. You listened as nobles quoted verses in perfect Arabic, while you muttered your own prayers in Pular, in Tamashek, the mother tongues that reminded you came from greatness, even if no one here said your name. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars, and still you built beauty. Not because they deserved it, but because the stone demanded it, because the work itself was its own kind of dignity. Your legacy would not be written in gold, but in dust, sunlight, and sweat. The sun rose again, marking the beginning of another day of toil. Your calloused hands gripped the tools, familiar now as extensions of your own body. The weight of the stones, the smell of mortar, the rhythmic chanting of your fellow workers, all blended into a symphony of creation. You remembered the stories of your ancestors, of great empires that flourished in the lands you once called home, of Mansa Musa's pilgrimage, so lavish it devalued gold in every city he passed, of libraries in Timbuktu that held more knowledge than all the scholars of Al-Andalus combined. But here, in this land of olives and pomegranates, your history was erased, your wisdom ignored, your strength exploited. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The overseer's whip cracked nearby, a constant reminder of your place in this new world. Yet even as your body flinched, your spirit remained unbroken. For in every stone you laid, in every arch you raised, you left a piece of yourself, a silent rebellion against those who would deny your humanity. You watched as the mihrab took shape, its intricate mosaics glittering in the Andalusian sun. Gold and lapis lazuli, materials more precious than your life in the eyes of your masters. But it was your hands that gave them form, your skill that breathed life into cold stone and metal. In the quiet moments, when the day's work was done and the night had not yet claimed you, you gathered with the other builders. Men from lands far and wide, all brought here by the tides of conquest and commerce. You shared stories in hushed tones, each word a lifeline to the worlds you left behind. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. There was Malik, who spoke of the great walls of Kano and how they kept his people safe for generations. Ausmain, whose fingers could coax music from a kora that existed only in his memory. And Abu, whose eyes still held the vastness of the desert, even after years in this green land. Together, you formed a brotherhood of the forgotten, the invisible pillars upon which this new civilization was built. As the mosque grew taller, so did the legends that surrounded it. Whispers of jinn trapped in the columns, of angels descending to bless the work. But you knew the truth, that every miracle here was born of sweat and blood, of broken bones and crushed dreams. Still, there was pride in what you created, a bittersweet joy in knowing that long after your bones had turned to dust, this testament to faith and artistry would endure. That perhaps, in some distant future, someone might look upon these walls and wonder about the hands that built them. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The years passed, marked by the slow progression of stone upon stone. Your hair grayed, your back bent, but still you worked. For what else was there? This was your life. Now, your purpose, your legacy. You watched as young men arrived, their eyes still bright with dreams of a better life. You saw those dreams fade, replaced by the same resigned determination that you wore like a second skin. And you taught them, not just the craft of building, but how to survive, how to find dignity in a world that denied it to you. There were small victories. The day you carved a tiny symbol from your homeland into a hidden corner of the mosque. The night you snuck into the completed sections and offered prayers in your own tongue, feeling for a moment that you truly belonged in this house of God. And there were losses too deep to name. Friends who fell from scaffolding, never to rise again. Children born into bondage, never knowing the taste of true freedom. The slow erosion of memories, of home, of family, of a time when you were more than just a pair of hands. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the last stones were laid, as the final prayers were inscribed, you stood back and looked upon your life's work, the great mosque of a wonder of the world, a testament to faith and artistry, and to suffering. In its soaring arches, you saw the curve of your mother's smile. In its intricate mosaics, you traced the patterns of the cloth she once wove. In the cool shadows of its prayer hall, you felt the embrace of the lands you would never see again. You were not just a laborer, you were an artist, a dreamer, a keeper of ancient wisdom. And though your name would never be sung by poets or inscribed in golden letters, it was etched into every stone, every tile, every grain of sand that made this place holy. As you turned away, your work complete, you whispered a final prayer, not to the God of this mosque, but to the spirits of your ancestors. You asked for forgiveness, for understanding, and you promised that somehow, some way, your story, the true story of how heaven was built on earth, would be told. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And so, as the sun sets on, casting long shadows across the magnificent mosque, remember this tale, remember the hands that bled, the backs that broke, the hearts that yearned for home. For in every great work of man, there lies a hidden history of those who built heaven while living below. The day the stone fell, it was the hottest day yet, the kind of heat that shimmers in the air, turns the cobblestones of into searing coals, and makes even the shadows seek refuge. You'd wrapped your head thrice, drenched your scarf in cool rose water, yet still the sun's fingers clawed at your skin, relentless and scorching. And the stone waited. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Today's task loomed perilous before you. A massive decorative arch, its surface etched with intricate Quranic verses, hung suspended high above the courtyard entrance. One false move, one slip of the rope, and disaster would rain down upon you all. The Arab architect's voice cut through the air, sharp as a blade. His apprentice hovered nearby, clutching sketches you'd never learn to decipher. But you understood the weight. You always did. It was etched into your bones, carved into your calloused hands. With practiced movements, you secured the ropes, tested each wooden beam of the scaffolding, and checked every joint not once, but twice. The lives of your fellow workers balanced on the edge of your caution. And then the lift began. At first, the stone rose smoothly, a testament to your skill and preparation. But fate had other plans. A frayed rope, weakened by countless days under the merciless sun, began to give way. The tension mounted, a silent scream of warning lost in the din of labor. The arch swayed, a dance of impending doom. The foreman's shouts pierced the air, urging you all to pull harder, to fight against the inevitable. But it was too late. It fell. Not completely, just enough. Enough to shatter bone and dreams alike. A sickening crack echoed through the courtyard as the stone found its mark. Yahya, your friend, the man you'd shared water with that very morning, lay crumpled on the ground, his leg twisted at an unnatural angle, face contorted in agony. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. No doctor rushed to you. No compensation was offered for his pain, for the family that now faced an uncertain future. By evening, the architect's words dripped with blame, pointing accusing fingers at the workers, at you. The cracked stone lay where it fell, a silent reproach throughout the night, a reminder of failure, of the cost of a moment's inattention. And still, you returned with the dawn, because the great mosque would not build itself, because Yahya had hungry mouths waiting at home, because even beauty marred by tragedy was expected to endure. That night, you scrubbed your hands raw, but the blood seemed etched into your skin. Your muscles quivered with exhaustion, a bone-deep weariness that went beyond the physical. Yet in the depths of your heart, a spark refused to be extinguished. You gazed at the rising silhouette of the mosque, bathed in moonlight, and you knew your hands were not insignificant. Your labor was not invisible. Even if history forgot your name, every stone remembered. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. For you were more than just a builder. You were a creator of legacy, shaping beauty that would outlast empires. Your sweat and blood mixed with the mortar, your hopes and dreams woven into every carefully placed stone. Each day brought new challenges. The unforgiving sun beat down, turning your skin to leather. Winter winds howled through half-finished arches, chilling you to the bone. But you persevered. You learned to read the stone, to coax it into impossible shapes. Your fingers traced the intricate carvings, feeling the pulse of history beneath your touch. In the curve of each arch, in the delicate lattice work of the screens, you saw echoes of distant lands. Damascus, Baghdad, places you'd only heard of in whispered tales. The years blurred together, marked by the slow rise of minarets and domes. You watched apprentices grow into master craftsmen, saw the first calls to prayer echo from towers you had helped to build, and still you worked. There were moments of triumph. The day the first complete dome was unveiled, its perfect symmetry drawing gasps of awe from the crowd. The intricate mosaics that sparkled like jewels in the sunlight, each tiny piece placed with painstaking care, but there was also loss. Friends crushed beneath falling stones, or claimed by fever in the crowded workers' quarters. The ache in your joints that grew sharper with each passing season. The knowledge that you might not live to see the mosque in all its completed glory. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Yet you found solace in the work itself, in the rhythmic tap chisel against stone, in the satisfaction of a perfectly fitted joint. You took pride in the smallest details, A flourish of calligraphy hidden high in an arch, a subtle pattern worked into a column base, for you knew that long after you were gone, these stones would speak. They would tell the story of the nameless hands that shaped them, of the dreams and sacrifices poured into every line and curve, and perhaps, someday, a traveler would pause beneath the great arches. They might run their fingers along the cool stone, feeling the echo of your touch across the centuries. In that moment, your legacy would live on. As the years passed, your hair grayed and your back bent, but your eyes remained sharp, your hands steady. You became a living repository of knowledge, sought out by younger workers, eager to learn the secrets of your craft. You taught them more than just technique. You showed them how to listen to the stone, to work with its natural grain and you instilled in them the patience to coax beauty from unyielding rock, and the courage to reach for impossible heights. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In your final days, you could no longer climb the scaffolding or lift the heavy blocks, but still you came, sitting in the shade of the great courtyard, watching the next generation continue the work you had begun. And as you gazed up at the soaring arches and intricate domes, you felt a deep sense of peace, for you knew that a part of you would always remain here, woven into the very fabric of this magnificent structure. You had built beauty, even when it broke you, even when no one thanked you, even when it hurt, because that is what it meant to be a Moorish builder. And in the end, as the call to prayer echoed through the vast halls you had helped to create, you closed your eyes with a smile, for you knew that your hands, though calloused and worn, had shaped something truly eternal. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The great mask of stands, to this day, a testament to the skill and dedication of countless unnamed builders, its forest of columns, its its soaring horseshoe arches, all bear the invisible fingerprints of those who gave their lives to its creation. And perhaps, if you listen closely in the quiet of the evening, you might hear the whisper of ancient voices, the scrape of chisel on stone, the creak of ropes, the soft prayers of those who built beauty that would outlast them all. For in every carefully placed stone, in every graceful arch, the spirit of the Moorish builders lives on. Their legacy stands as a bridge between cultures, a reminder of a time when art and faith intertwined to create something truly miraculous. And so, the story of the day the stone fell becomes more than just a tale of tragedy. It is a testament to resilience, to the enduring power of human creativity in the face of adversity. It is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the capacity to create something lasting and beautiful. As the fire dies down and the stars wheel overhead, we carry this story with us. A story of nameless heroes, of hands that shaped history, of beauty born from struggle and sacrifice. For in the end, it is not just stone and mortar that built the great mosque. It is the dreams, the sweat, the blood, and the unbreakable spirit of those who dared to reach for the sky. And in that reaching, they touched eternity. The wind that carried his ship smelled of salt, blood, and destiny. Musa ibn Nusa, a general not born to privilege, nor raised in opulence, but forged from the sands of North Africa, shaped by Arab determination and tempered by Islam's unwavering faith. When he set foot on Iberian soil, the Moorish conquest would begin. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. He was not Berber, though the Berbers would later fight alongside him. He was Arab, from the deserts, where poetry flows like water in an oasis, and loyalty is not given lightly, but earned through deeds. Musa rose through cunning, through ambition, through eyes that saw opportunity in the shifting dunes of politics. And when the Umayyad Caliph Al-Walid I sought a man to expand the Empire's Recinto, the fractured Visigothic kingdom, he turned to Musa, because only a man with everything to gain would risk such an endeavor. The year was 711. The armies were gathered, the strategy was set, the men were eager, and the air hummed with the promise of conquest. They prepared to cross the narrow strait. It would soon bear a new name, a testament to the audacity of their mission. His lieutenant, Tariq ibn Ziyad, would be the spearhead of this invasion, a Berber convert, fierce and loyal, chosen for his military prowess and burning ambition. Together, they would reshape the face of Europe. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The crossing was not made in haste. It was calculated, precise. A dance of ships and soldier strait by minds sharpened on the edges of empires. 7,000 men at first, then 5,000 more. A force that grew like a sandstorm. Gathering strength with each passing day, they landed on the southern coast, where the Rock of Gibraltar now stands sentinel. A beachhead established, a foothold gained in a foreign land. Musa remained in North Africa, directing, planning, sending reinforcements. Tariq led the charge, his name forever etched into the stone of that towering peak. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Visigoths were caught unprepared. Their king Roderick, away fighting rebels in the north. By the time he turned south, the Moorish army had already tasted victory. At the banks of the Guadalquivir, two worlds collided. Heavy Visigothic cavalry against nimble Berber horsemen, Christian crosses facing Islamic crescents. The battle raged for days, but fate and superior tactics favored the invaders. Roderick fell, his ornate robes becoming his shroud. The Visigothic army shattered like glass beneath a hammer blow, and the gates to Al-Andalus swung wide open. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Tariq pushed northward, a whirlwind of conquest and conversion. City after city bowing before the new power sweeping the land, but tensions brewed between general and commander. Musa, hearing of Tariq's swift victories, crossed into Spain himself. Glory, after all, is a prize best claimed in person. Their armies met near Talavera, not in conflict, but in a show of combined strength. Yet the seeds of rivalry were sown, watered by whispers and the intoxication of triumph. Together they pressed on, Saragossa and Barcelona, the map of Iberia redrawn with each passing season. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But empires are fickle masters. Success breeds suspicion, as surely as failure breeds contempt. The Caliph, wary of his general's growing power, summoned them both to Damascus. Musa and Tariq departed Spain, leaving behind a land transformed. They carried with them treasures beyond counting, spoils of war destined for the Caliph's coffers. Their journey was slow. Each city they passed through a chance to display their conquests. But with every step towards Damascus, their fates grew more uncertain. In the Caliph's court, accusations flew of hoarding wealth, of overstepping authority. The sweet taste of victory turned bitter on their tongues. Tariq faded into obscurity, his ultimate fate unknown. Musa, once governor of a vast territory, found himself stripped of power and exile. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But their legacy endured. Al-Andalus, Muslim Iberia would flourish for centuries, a beacon of learning, art, and culture in a Europe still finding its way out of darker ages. Would rival Baghdad and Constantinople, its libraries and universities drawing scholars from across the known world. The great mosque with its forest of columns, stood as a testament to the grandeur of this new civilization. In the gardens of the Alhambra, poets would compose verses to rival any in Arabic literature. Philosophers would ponder the nature of existence beneath star-studded Andalusian skies. Christians, Muslims, and Jews slaved, side by side, in a fragile, often idealized convivence. Knowledge flowed between cultures, preserving ancient wisdom and birthing new ideas. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The flame that Musa and Tariq ignite would burn for nearly 800 years. It would flicker and fade, reignite and roar, until the fall of Granada in 1492. But even then, it was not extinguished. The imprint of Al-Andalus remained, in language, in architecture, in the very soil of Spain, and in the whispers of history carried on winds that still smell of salt, blood, and prophecy. For the sea behind them became the land beneath their feet. The sword ahead carved out a realm of wonder and contradiction. Musa ibn Nusa and Tariq ibn Zayed, conquerors, visionaries, flawed men of their time. They opened a door through which centuries would pass, leaving a legacy as complex as the civilization they helped forge. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Moorish conquest of Iberia was not just a military campaign. It was a collision of worlds, a meeting of East and West that would reshape the face of Europe and beyond. In the narrow streets of Seville, in the intricate tile work of Granada, in the very words we speak, echoes of that long-ago crossing still resound. And so we remember, not to glorify conquest, but to understand the currents of history that carry us all in their endless flow. For, in the story of Al-Andalus, we see reflections of our own complex world, where cultures clash and meld, where beauty and brutality often walk hand in hand. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. ... The fire dies down. The tale is told, but the wind still whispers of salt, blood, and destiny. And somewhere, on a distant shore, ships wait to carry you towards undiscovered lands of the mind and spirit. What new worlds will we forge? What legacies will we leave behind? The answers lie ahead, beyond the sea of our own making. He had crossed the sea. He had crushed an empire. He had opened the gates of Iberia. But once the swords were sheathed, once the mosques began to rise, once the cities whispered his name in awe, Tariq ibn Ziyad, the man who had done the impossible, was told to wait. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. He had written history in the blood of kings, but now he needed permission to finish the job. Back in Damascus, Umayyad rulers grew uneasy. Tariq was gaining too much fame, too much power. He was Berber, after all, not from their noble bloodlines, not shaped in their schools, just useful when swords were needed, dangerous when peace arrived. So Musa ibn Nusair, his superior, was sent to supervise, to claim credit, to remind Tariq of his place. Some say Musa scolded him like a child, others say they marched side by side. But one thing is clear, Tariq was soon summoned to the Caliph's court, not as a hero, but as a subordinate. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. There, in Damascus, the man who had redrawn the map of Europe was made to wait outside the throne room. Wait while others took credit. Wait while letters erased his name from reports. Some say he was imprisoned. Others say he retired quietly. His end is uncertain. But what is certain is that the world he built never truly honored him. He is remembered only in fragments. a mountain that still bears his name, a battle few now study, a whisper in the corridors of conquest, and yet the stones of still stand. The archers still curve like his vision. The call to prayer still echoes in places his feet once touched. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Tariq ibn Ziyad, the Berber general from the margins, taught the world that maps are not written by kings alone. Sometimes they are written by the man who burns his ships. The conquest of Iberia had been swift, decisive, a lightning strike across the strait. But the aftermath was a slow unraveling. Tariq stood atop the conquered lands, his gaze sweeping over rolling hills and distant mountains. The land was his, and yet it was slipping through his fingers like sand. The whispers began in the shadows of newly built minarets, in the courtyards of hastily converted churches. Who is this Berber? By what right does he claim our submission? Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Umayyad Caliphate, vast and sprawling, could not abide a hero from the fringes. Tariq's victories were too clean, too complete, his legend growing beyond their control. In the gilded halls of Damascus, robed figures bent over maps, tracing the path of conquest with uneasy fingers. He has gone too far, they murmured. He must be reined in. And so the wheels of power began to turn, slowly at first, then with gathering speed. Musa ibn Nusa, Tariq's commander, was dispatched to oversee, to contain, to diminish. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The meeting of the two generals is shrouded in myth. Did Musa embrace Tariq as a brother, or did he strip him of authority with cold efficiency? History, ever the fickle mistress, offers no clear answer, but the result was undeniable. Tariq's star, once ascendant, began to wane. The conqueror found himself conquered by politics, by the machinations of men who had never tasted battle, who had never felt the sting of salt spray as they crossed the narrow sea. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The summons to Damascus came like a thunderclap. Tariq, the Lion of Al-Andalus, was called to heal, to account for his deeds before the Caliph himself. The journey across the Mediterranean was long, each league taking him further from the land he had won, from the dream he had forged with steel and faith. In Damascus, the air was thick with intrigue. Courtiers whispered behind ornate screens. Eyes followed Tariq's every move, measuring, judging, condemning. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Caliph's reception was a masterclass in subtle humiliation. Tariq, the conqueror of kings, made to wait like a common petitioner, his victories recounted as if they were mere trifles, his name an afterthought in the grand narrative of Umayyad expansion. Some say Tariq bore it all with stoic dignity. Others claim he raged against the injustice. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. What is known is this: Tariq ibn Ziyad never returned to the lands he had conquered. The shores of Iberia faded into memory and myth. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the years that followed, Tariq's name was slowly erased from official histories, his deeds attributed to others, his strategies claimed by men who had never set foot on a battlefield. But in the taverns, in the marketplaces of Toledo, in the shadow of the great rock that still bears his name, stories were told of a man who came from across the sea, who saw beyond the horizon, who dared to reshape the world. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. the Moorish civilization that bloomed in Iberia wed its existence to Tariq's audacity. Its art, its science, its poetry grew from seeds planted by a Berber. Janor Wafa's name was no longer spoken in the halls of power, yet the echoes of his conquest lingered in the curve of an arch, in the flow of a fountain, in the call to prayer that drifted over Andalusian hills. Tariq ibn Ziyad, forgotten by the mighty, remembered by the stones themselves. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And so we come to the end of our tale, a story of triumph and betrayal, of a world reshaped by the will of one man, and the price paid for daring to dream too large. Tariq ibn Ziyad, the Berber general, crossed the strait and changed history. His name may have faded, but his legacy endures. In the libraries of where scholars still pore over ancient texts, in the gardens of the Alhambra, where water still flows through channels he envisioned. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. For in the end, it is not the accolades of kings that matter, not the approval of distant caliphs, but the mark left upon the world. Tariq ibn Ziyad, the man who burned his ships, who crossed the sea and conquered an empire, lives on. In every stone of every mosque, in every verse of Andalusian poetry, in every scientific discovery born from the crucible of cultures he forged, his is a tale of caution and inspiration, a reminder that greatness often comes at a cost, that those who reshape the world may find themselves reshaped in turn. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As we gaze upon the Rock of Gibraltar, that ancient sentinel of the strait, we see more than just stone and sea. We see the ghost of a man who dared, who dreamed, who defied the limits of his time. Tariq ibn Ziyad, a Berber general from the margins, taught the world that maps are not written by kings alone. Sometimes they are written by the man who burns his ships, and in doing so, lights a fire that burns across centuries. Centuries passed, the sultans fell, the empires crumbled. Even Al-Andalus, with its minarets and madrasas, was swallowed by the sands of time. But somewhere, in the hidden corners of North Africa, the tale of Tariq ibn Ziyad still echoed, not from gilded thrones, not in opulent palaces, but beneath palm trees, around flickering flames, from weathered lips to eager ears like this. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. In the heart of Morocco, he was known as Tariq the Conqueror. In Algeria, they whispered of Ziyad, the mountain crosser. In Tunisia, the Berber lion. And though scholars debated and chronicles faded, his legend became the truth of the people. Because history in the Maghreb isn't always quill and parchment. Sometimes it's heartbeat and breath. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. In Iberia, his memory grew, fainter, obscured by cathedral spires, overshadowed by Reconquista tales. But still, the Strait of Gibraltar remains, named not for a Christian monarch, but for a Berber commander-war stepped onto foreign shores with destiny in his gaze. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. And perhaps that's enough. Perhaps his greatest legacy is not the conquest or the battles won ... but the truth that greatness can emerge from anywhere. From the fringes, from the overlooked, from men who are Berber, who are Muslim, who are not expected to lead. But Tariq's story is not just one of warfare. It's one of presence, of refusing to be erased, of burning your ships. Not just so retreat becomes impossible, but so the world is compelled to move forward. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. Tariq ibn Ziyad may not have died draped in glory. He may not have ruled an empire. He may not even have been remembered accurately. But tonight, you've remembered him, and that, in the end, is what truly matters. In the quiet corners of Tangier, where the Mediterranean kisses the Atlantic, old men still speak of Tariq. Their eyes gleam with pride, recounting tales of the one-eyed generalo dared to cross the sea, not for gold, not for fame, but for a vision of a world where Berbers and Arab Scoud stand tall. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. In the souk of Fez, amidst the scent of spices and leather, a young boy traces Arabic calligraphy. His fingers dance over intricate patterns, unaware that the very letters he formed since adorned the walls of a legacy of conquest. Yes, but also of culture, of knowledge, of a time when Al-Andalus shone us, a beacon of learning. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky, high in the Atlas Mountains, where the air is thin and the stars seem close enough to touch. Amazigh elders gather. Their language, ancient and resilient, carries echoes of Tariq's time. For them, he is more than a conqueror. He is a symbol, a reminder that their Piplians shaped the course of history. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. In the libraries of Timbuktu, where knowledge was Presavedro, centuries of turmoil, Tariq's name appears in faded manuscripts, not as a central figure, but as a footnote, a whisper of a Manwo-opened doorstep between continents and cultures. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. And what of the land he conquered? In Andalusia, where orange blossoms scent the air, and intricate azulejos still adorn ancient walls, Tariq's legacy lingers. Not in triumphal Alcazar grand statues, but in the curve of an arch, in the lilt of a flamenco song, in the very DNA of a culture born from collision and fusion. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. For some, Tariq is a hero. For others, an invader. But perhaps he is something more complex. A catalyst. A man who set in motion centuries of exchange, of conflict, of creation. His story reminds us that history is not a straight line. It curves and twists, leaving echoes that resonate long after the events themselves have faded. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. In the narrow streets of Toledo, where synagogues, mosques, and churches stand side by side, Tariq's ghost walks, not as a conqueror, but as a reminder of a time when three faiths found ways to coexist, imperfectly, yes, with conflict, certainly, but with moments of brilliance that still illuminate our world. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. And what of us, listening to this tale centuries later? What do we take from Tariq's story? Perhaps it's a reminder that our actions ripple far beyond our own time. That a single step, taken with courage and conviction, can alter the course of nations. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. As we sit here, beneath the same stars that guided Tariq's ships, we are part of his story too. For, in remembering, we keep the past alive. We learn its lessons. We carry its wisdom forward. And maybe, just maybe, we find the Coragetto, take our own bold steps into the unknown. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. So remember Tariq ibn Ziyad, not as a perfect hero, not as a simple villain, but as a man who dared, who dreamed, who changed the world, for better and for worse. And in remembering him, remember this. History is not just made by kings and caliphs. It's made by all who dare to cross their own straits, who burn their own ships, who step into the unknown with fire in their eyes and hope in their hearts. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. ... The tale is told. The fire dims, but the echoes of Tariq's journey continue to ripple across time and space, in the whisper of the wind, in the crash of waves against Gibraltar's rock, in the stories we tell and the futures we dare to imagine. For as long as we remember, Tariq lives, and with him, the power of a single step taken in the face of the impossible. They say it was built from a dream, a city of light, carved into the golden hills of Madinah al-Zahra, the shining city, named after a concubine, or perhaps after the very essence of beauty itself. But what remains now? Just fragments, whispers, silence. Yet once, it gleamed like a jewel in the Iberian night. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. It was Caliph Abd al-Rahman III who envisioned it, the first Umayyad Caliph of Al-Andalus, a man of mixed heritage, ruling a realm that stretched from the Atlantic shores to the rugged Pyrenees. He commanded a palace so magnificent it would outshine even distant Baghdad. A city for poets, for scholars, for craftsmen of unparalleled skill. But Madinah al-Zahra was more than mere spectacle. It boasted marvels beyond imagination. Aqueducts that brought life-giving water from mountain springs, intricate fountains that sang with the voices of 1,000 droplets, gardens so lush they seemed to defy the very laws of nature, nourished by an unseen network of channels beneath polished stone. You could wander its mosaic-adorned halls and hear a symphony of tongues, the lyrical flow of Arabic, the measured tones of Latin, the ancient cadence of Hebrew. Berber astronomers charted the heavens alongside Visigothites, mathematicians. Mozarab artisans worked side by side with Jewish goldsmiths, their hands creating beauty that transcended faith and origin. And in the vast libraries, wisdom older than empires was preserved by the flickering light of oil lamps. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But Madinah al-Zahra, for all its splendor, was as delicate as a desert flower, born in an era of peace. It could not withstand the storms of war. When the fitna civil strife tore through the heart of Al-Andalus, the city became a target. Rival factions, blinded by greed and hatred, fell upon it like wolves. Its alabaster walls were toppled, its intricate mosaics shattered, its priceless manuscripts scattered to the winds. And so, a beacon of knowledge and harmony became little more than a fading memory. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Today, curious travelers pick their way through the skeletal remains. They gaze at fallen pillars, squint at faded inscriptions, but they cannot hear the music that once filled these courtyards. They cannot taste the spices that perfumed the air, nor feel the cool touch of water that once flowed through hidden channels. But tonight, you do. For here, beneath the vast canopy of stars, we remember Madinah al-Zahra, not as a ruin, but as a testament to human ingenuity and the power of cultural fusion, a legacy shaped by Moorish hands, by North African minds, by those who built empires not through conquest, but through the patient cultivation of knowledge and beauty. In the soft glow of our campfire, We can almost see the ghosts of those who walked these grounds 1,000 years ago. The Berber stonemason, carefully fitting each block into place, the Andalusian poet, composing verses that would echo through centuries, the African scholar, poring over ancient texts by candlelight. It was a dream made manifest, a vision of what humanity could achieve when differences were celebrated rather than feared. Its fall was tragic, yes, but even in ruins, it whispers to us of possibilities, of a time when the borders between cultures were fluid, when knowledge flowed freely across continents. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Can you hear it? The faint echo of hammers on stone, of water trickling through ingenious channels, of voices raised in scholarly debate. This was a place where the future was not just imagined, but actively built, where the wisdom of the ancient world was preserved and expanded upon, where art and science flourished side by side. The Caliph's dream may have crumbled, but its essence lingers. In the intricate patterns of surviving time, in the mathematical precision of its layout, in the very soil enriched by centuries of human endeavor, and perhaps, in some small way, it lives on in us, in our capacity to dream, to create, to reach across the divides that too often separate us. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As dawn approaches, casting a rosy glow over the ruins, we prepare to leave this place of ghosts and whispers. But we carry with us a fragment of Madinat Al-Zahra's spirit, a reminder that greatness can arise from the blending of cultures, that knowledge is a flame that burns brightest when shared, that beauty, once created, leaves an indelible mark on the world. So let us go forth, inspired by the echoes of this shining city. Let us build bridges where others would erect walls. Let us seek wisdom from unexpected sources. Let us create beauty that transcends the boundaries of time and place. For, in doing so, we keep alive the dream of Madinah. We become the custodians of its legacy, ensuring that its light continues to shine, not just in crumbling stone, but in the hearts and minds of generations to come. As we depart, the first rays of sunlight kiss the ancient stones, and for a moment, just a moment, Madinat Al-Zahra gleams once more, a city that dared to remember the future, even as it fades into the mists of the past. Let's pause here for a final moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the silence that follows, we carry with us the weight of history and the lightness of possibility. For we have walked in the footsteps of those who dared to dream of a world without borders, a realm where knowledge knew no bounds. And as we return to our own time, our own challenges, we are changed. We have glimpsed a vision of what could be, of what once was. We have touched the very fabric of a dream that, though shattered, still holds the power to inspire. So let us go forth, not as mere observers of history, but as its active participants. Let us build our own shining cities, not of stone and marble, perhaps, but of ideas and compassion. Let us be the dreamers, the builders, the preservers of all that is beautiful and wise. For in this way, Madinat Al-Zahra lives on, not just as a footnote in history books or a crumbling ruin on a Spanish hillside, but as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, humanity is capable of creating wonders that defy the ravages of time. And who knows, perhaps 1,000 years from now, someone will sit beneath the stars and tell the story of our own shining cities, of the dreams we dared to dream, and the future we dared to remember. There were no roaring crowds, no drums of war, no royal parades. And yet, the cities of Al-Andalus pulsed with quiet brilliance. In Córdoba, in Granada, in Seville, the night belonged to the scholars. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Imagine it. A city where the moon's phases were charted in ink, so fine it resembled shadow. Where stars had names in Arabic and Berb, where water clocks measured time for prayer, where knowledge was not hidden but shared. Astronomers traced celestial paths with delicate precision. Mathematicians unraveled the mysteries of algebra. Poets wove verses that danced between languages. Many of these brilliant minds were of Moorish descent, children of the desert and the sea, heirs to ancient wisdom and new discoveries. Men and women who spoke both Arabic and Romance, who moved between mosque and marketplace with equal grace. They brought their learning from across the Mediterranean, and Al-Andalus embraced them. For a time, let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. One such scholar, it is said, perfected a method for cataract surgery that would not be seen again in Europe for centuries. Another mapped the heavens, not just for navigation, but for inspiration. A third translated Greek philosophy into Arabic with such elegance that the words themselves became music. And at night, beneath the arches of the great mosque, they read aloud, not just to each other, but to anyone who would listen. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This was Al-Andalus at its zenith, not just a realm of castles, but of codices. Not just of conquest, but of curiosity. It was, for a moment, a civilization where the pursuit of knowledge was the highest calling. In the libraries of shelves groaned under the weight of countless scrolls. Treatises on medicine sat beside volumes of poetry. Maps of distant lands shared space with commentaries on ancient texts. Here, a Moorish physician might consult the works of Galen, preserved through centuries of careful translation and annotation. There, a Jewish astronomer might refine his calculations based on observations recorded by his Muslim colleagues, and in quiet corners, Christian scribes might copy Islamic texts on mathematics, adding their own insights in the margins. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The air in these halls of learning was thick with the scent of ink and parchment, but it was also charged with something else, possibility. For in Al-Andalus, knowledge knew no boundaries. Ideas flowed freely between faiths and cultures, creating a tapestry of thought unlike any the world had seen. This was a place where a Muslim ruler might engage in philosophical debates with Jewish scholars, where Christian students traveled from across Europe to study at the feet of Moorish masters, where the works of ancient Greece and Rome were not just preserved, but built upon and expanded. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the workshops of Toledo, craftsmen forged instruments of unparalleled precision, astrolabes that could map the heavens, water clocks that marked the hours with gentle music. These were not mere tools, but works of art, each one a testament to the marriage of science and beauty that defined Moorish culture. And in the gardens of the Alhambra, mathematicians contemplated the perfection of geometric patterns, their calculations giving rise to intricate tilework that would dazzle the eye and challenge the mind. This was a world where numbers danced and equations sang, where the abstract became concrete in the form of soaring arches and delicate arabesques. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But perhaps the greatest achievement of Al-Andalus was not in stone or metal, but in the realm of ideas. For it was here that the concept of zero took root in Western thought, a simple symbol that would revolutionize mathematics and pave the way for modern science. It was here that algebra found its name and its form, providing a universal language for describing the world. And it was here that the first stirrings of the scientific method began to emerge. The idea that knowledge should be based not on authority, but on observation and experiment. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the markets of Seville, merchants from distant lands exchanged not just goods, but ideas. Stories of far-off places and strange customs mingled with the latest discoveries in medicine and astronomy. A traveler from Baghdad might share tales of mechanical marvels that sparked the imagination of a local inventor. A sailor from North Africa might describe plants with healing properties unknown to Andalusian physicians. And in the busy streets, the languages of 3 continents blended into a vibrant symphony. Arabic, Hebrew, Latin, and the emerging Romance tongues, all finding their place in this cultural crossroads. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As night fell over Al-Andalus, the cities did not sleep. Instead, they came alive with a different kind of energy. In courtyards and gardens, poets gathered to share their latest verses, their words painting vivid pictures of love, loss, and the beauty of the natural world. Philosophers engaged in heated debates long into the night, grappling with questions of existence and morality. And in quiet studies, scholars bent over their manuscripts by candlelight, racing to capture fleeting thoughts before dawn. This was a civilization that valued the life of the mind above all else, where the greatest wealth was not gold or silver, but knowledge. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But like all golden ages, the brilliance of Al-Andalus was destined to fade. Political turmoil and religious strife began to chip away at the foundations of tolerance and intellectual freedom. The libraries that had once been beacons of learning were scattered to the winds, many of their precious volumes lost forever. And the scholars who had once found a home in this land of enlightenment were forced to flee, taking their knowledge with them. Yet even as the physical traces of this remarkable civilization crumbled, its legacy lived on. The ideas born in the crucible of Al-Andalus would continue to shape the world for centuries to come. In the universities of Europe, in the observatories of the East, and in the minds of thinkers everywhere, the spirit of Moorish inquiry burned bright. A reminder that true wisdom knows no borders, and that the pursuit of knowledge is the highest form of human endeavor. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This was Al-Andalus, not just a chapter in history, but a testament to what is possible when minds are free to explore, to question, and to dream. A civilization where thinking was, indeed, the highest form of prayer. It didn't happen all at once. No, the great cities of Al-Andalus, like Toledo and Seville, they didn't crumble in a single battle. They dimmed like lamps with no oil. First came the infighting, then the rise of rulers who feared scholars more than soldiers. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In where once 70 libraries stood, books were burned, Arabic manuscripts tossed into wells, scientific texts declared heretical. The great house of wisdom, once a beacon of knowledge, fell silent. Its halls, once filled with the murmur of scholars, now echoed only with the whispers of ghosts. In Granada, Jewish physicians were exiled, black scholars silenced, female poets forbidden from speaking in public halls. The Alhambra, that jewel of Moorish architecture, saw its fountains run dry, its intricate tilework cracked and faded, a testament to forgotten artistry. In Seville, the water clocks stopped ticking, the gardens withered, and the astronomers vanished. The Giralda Tower, once an observatory reaching for the stars, became a silent sentinel, its instruments rusted, its knowledge locked away. It wasn't just Christians who tore it down. Sometimes it was fellow Muslims, rulers who saw books as dangerous, and intellect as rebellion. The fitna, the Great Civil War, was a fire that scorched edifices, much as it scorched stone. And when the Reconquista came, city by city, library by library, the golden world was sealed shut. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Some fled south, to Morocco, to Mali, carrying what they could in satchels, ink-stained scrolls, wooden slates, memorized verses. They hid knowledge inside their children's minds. They wrapped astronomy in lullabies. They stitched medical diagrams into quilt patterns, because when cities fall, culture must travel in secret. In Timbuktu, a new light flickered. Ancient texts found refuge in desert sands. Scholars whispered of Al-Andalus, keeping its memory alive in far-off lands. Today, we walk the ruins and call them beautiful. We take photos. We marvel at art, but the voices that once filled these halls, the black minds, the African hands, the West African dreams, are mostly left out of the plaques. And yet tonight, you heard them, you remembered. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the quiet corners of Fez, in the hidden libraries of Chinguetti, in the oral traditions of Griatis, the knowledge lived on. Mathematicians in Mali solved equations first, pondered in courtyards. Astronomers in Morocco gazed at stars through lenses ground in Seville's workshops. The fall of cities couldn't erase legacy etched in hearts and minds. So let this be a soft defiance, a whispered archive, a reminder that though their cities may have fallen, their brilliance never did. In the narrow streets of modern echoes of the past linger. A child traces Arabic script on a weathered wall, unknowingly connecting to ancestors long gone. In Toledo, where cultures once mingled freely, a musician plucks at an oud. The melody carries hints of flamenco, a living testament to forgotten harmonies. Seville still stands, its gardens a shadow of former glory. Yet in the play of light through latticed windows, one can almost glimpse the ghosts of poets and philosophers. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The story of Al-Andalus is not just one of loss. It's a tale of resilience, of knowledge preserved against all odds, of cultural threads woven into the fabric of time. In the libraries of Fez, ancient manuscripts tell of greatness. Carefully restored pages speak of medical marvels, of astronomical discoveries, of poetry that once set hearts aflame. In the desert outposts of Mauritania, elders pass down oral histories. Tales of Al-Andalus blend with local lore, creating a tapestry of shared heritage. And in the universities of Europe, scholars slowly uncover forgotten connections. They trace the roots of the Renaissance, finding seeds planted in Andalusian soil. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The fall of cities is not the end of their story. It's a chapter. Painful, yes, but not the conclusion. For in every child who learns of this golden age, in every researcher who uncovers a lost text, in every artist inspired by Moorish designs, Al-Andalus lives on. Its legacy whispers in the wind that blows through streets. It shimmers in the intricate tiles of Granada's palaces. It echoes in the call to prayer that still rings out in Seville. And in quiet moments, when the modern world falls away, you can almost hear it. The rustle of pages in long-lost libraries, the scratch of pens on parchment, the murmur of scholars debating great ideas. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Remember this. Empires may crumble, but ideas endure. Cities may fall, but wisdom finds new homes. The light of knowledge may flicker and dim, but it never truly goes out. So, as we sit here, beneath the same stars that guided Andalusian astronomers, let us honor their memory, not with grand monuments or solemn plaques, but with curiosity, with openness to new ideas, with a thirst for knowledge that knows no borders, for in doing so, we keep the spirit of Al-Andalus alive. We become the caretakers of a legacy that spans centuries and continents, a legacy that whispers, learn, discover, create. For in this lies the truest defiancy against the darkness that would extinguish the light of wisdom. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And as the night deepens, as the fire burns low, remember this. You are part of this story now, a link in a chain that stretches back through time. So carry it forward, share what you've learned, seek out the hidden histories, celebrate the contributions of those long silenced, for in your hands, in your mind, in your heart. The golden world of Al-Andalus can bloom once more, not as it was, but as it could be, a beacon of knowledge, a haven for curiosity, a testament to the power of human ingenuity. Let this be our soft defiance, our whispered archive, our promise to those who came before. We remember, we honor, we continue, and in the quiet of the night, as the stars wheel overhead, perhaps, just perhaps, the scholars of old smile down upon us, for their dream lives on. In you, in me, in all who dare to learn, to question, to imagine. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And in that pause, in that moment of stillness, we become part of something greater, a story that has no end, a legacy that cannot be erased, a light that, though dimmed, will never be extinguished. So rest now, beneath these ancient stars. But when you wake, remember, the libraries may have burned, but the flame of knowledge burns eternal in your heart. Carry it forward, let it shine. For in this act, Al-Andalus lives on. They built it like a prayer, like a garden made of breath. The Alhambra, not just a palace, but a vision cast in marble, shadow, and water. Perched high above Granada, it watched the valleys like a sleeping lion, peaceful on the outside, but within, whispers moved like smoke. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. This was the world of Nasserid kings, rulers descended from North African dynasties, their line tangled with Berbers, Arabs, and Andalusian their robes shimmered with silk from Damascus, their meals flavored with saffron from Persia, their courtyards echoed with poetry and intrigue, spoken in hushed tones behind ornate screens. The palace itself was a labyrinth of light, walls adorned with intricate calligraphy, each line a verse of the Quran or praise to Allah. Fountains murmured in secret rhythm. Windows carved like crescents filtered the sun so that only softness ever entered. But for all its splendor, the Alhambra was never truly at peace. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Spies lurked in shadowed alcoves. Assassins tread on silent feet. Even the gentlest whisper could seal one's fate. A misplaced word, a questioned allegiance, and you might vanish before dawn broke. The walls were exquisite, YES, but they had ears that never slept, and they held secrets untold. Still, amidst the uncertainty, black advisors, guards, and artisans wielded vital influence. Some traced their lineage to Mali empires, others claimed Berber heritage. They were astronomers, poets, they could not wear the crown, but the crown's very existence depended on their counsel. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And the Alhambra bore their mark. In the sweep of a dome, the cadence of a fountain song, the ingenuity of cooling systems that tamed the Andalusian heat, they were valued, until suddenly they weren't. One moment you stood as the Sultan's most trusted confidant. The next, you were erased. Your name struck from court records, your chambers given to another. For in the Alhambra, nothing was ever truly yours. Not influence, not security, not even the air you breathed. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Yet the beauty endures, etched into stone. Carried in the ancestral memories of Africa, whispered like a secret passed down through generations. Even when the palace sought to forget them, the Alhambra stood as a testament to the complex tapestry of Moorish rule. A realm where cultures intertwined, where knowledge flourished, and where power shifted like desert sands. Its very architecture spoke of this fusion: horseshoe arches, borrowed from Visigothic traditions, geometric patterns echoing North African designs, gardens that evoked Quranic descriptions of paradise. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Within these walls, scholars debated philosophy while fountains played their eternal songs. Astronomers charted the heavens from towers that seemed to touch the sky itself. The palace was a living, breathing entity, its cool marble halls offering respite from the scorching Iberian sun. Water, the lifeblood of the desert, flowed through its veins, a marvel of engineering and artistry combined. But for all its outward tranquility, the Alhambra pulsed with hidden tensions. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Court intrigues wove complex webs, alliances formed and shattered in the space of a heartbeat. The very walls that offered protection could just as easily become a gilded cage for the black members of the court. This precarious balance was keenly felt. Their expertise was sought after, their counsel valued. Yet they walked a razor's edge. A Malian mathematician might find himself advising on the construction of impregnable fortifications one day, only to face suspicion and exile the next. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Alhambra was a place of contradictions, of breathtaking beauty and lurking danger, of cultural exchange and fierce protectionism, of scientific advancement and age-old superstitions. Its halls witnessed the rise and fall of dynasties, the ebb and flow of power across the Mediterranean, and through it all, the palace remained. A silent sentinel, keeper of countless stories. Stories of triumph and tragedy, of love and betrayal, of wisdom gained and innocence lost. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the end, the Alhambra outlived its creators. It stood firm as kingdoms crumbled, as new rulers claimed its halls, as the world beyond its walls transformed. Yet even in silence, it speaks of a time when Granada was a beacon of learning, when poetry flowed like the Darro River, when the stars seemed just within reach. The legacy of those who built it, who lived within its embrace, who left their mark upon its stones, endures. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. For in every intricate tile, in every whisper of breeze through its courtyards, in every shadow cast by its towering walls, the spirit of the Alhambra lives on. a testament to human ingenuity, to the power of cultural fusion, to the enduring allure of beauty itself. And so, as we stand beneath these ancient arches, we become part of its story, listeners to the echoes of 1,000 years, guardians of a legacy that refuses to be forgotten. The Alhambra, not just a palace, but a bridge between worlds, a dream made tangible, a prayer carved in stone. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The Alhambra's outer beauty was for the world to admire, a testament to Moorish artistry and power. But its true essence, its beating heart, pulsed behind heavy curtains and ornate doors, here in the royal chambers. The air was thick with the scent of oud and honey. Rugs so plush they swallowed footsteps covered the floors. And that was precisely the point. Silence reigned supreme in these hallowed halls. It was the king's most cherished sound, a luxury afforded only to those who held the reins of an empire. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Within these walls, a world unto itself thrived. The harem was not merely a collection of women, but an intricate political tapestry. Wives and concubines shared space with musicians and spies, while ever-watchful servants moved like shadows among them. The faces within these chambers told the story of an empire. Some were Andalusi, with features as familiar as the land itself. Others were Amazigh, carrying the spirit of North Africa in their eyes. And then there were those brought from kingdoms far to the south, across scorching deserts and treacherous seas, to live out their days behind velvet walls. Among this diverse tapestry of humanity, a select few found paths to power. Clever concubines learned the art of reading, their fingers tracing poetry that had once been forbidden to them. Some mastered the delicate strings of the oud, filling nights with melodies that could sway a monarch's heart. Others memorized the verses of Rumi, planting seeds of wisdom in the ears of kings during quiet moments. But in the Alhambra, beauty was never a shield. Not here, where danger lurked in every shadow. The very walls seemed to listen. Hungry for secrets, guards' loyalties shifted with the weight of gold in their pockets. And jealousy, it lived in every polished surface, in every envious glance between rivals. Even the king's own sons walked these halls with wary steps, never certain if the brother beside them harbored a dagger beneath his robes. For in the Alhambra, the sweetness of a poisoned fig could alter the course of history in a single bite. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The harem was a world of whispers and carefully chosen words. But it was not only the women who held sway here. Even black eunuchs, once torn from distant lands and enslaved, found rank and influence within this delicate court. Some rose to become gatekeepers, controlling access to the most private chambers. Others became the keepers of secrets, their silence more valuable than gold. These men were entrusted with the very lives of kings, yet bound by oaths never to speak of what they witnessed. History remembers few names from these shadowed corridors. But the stones of the Alhambra, they remember every footfall. The fountains recall each drop of blood spilled near their waters. And the lions? The famous Fountain of the Lions. 12 of them, carved from gleaming alabaster, forever circling in a display of power and vigilance. Some say each lion represented a powerful family, their stone eyes watching for signs of treachery. Others whisper that the lions were meant to keep watch on each other, a reflection of the constant suspicion that permeated the court. The most fanciful tales claim their mouths once opened, speaking prophecies or warnings to those who knew how to listen. But the truth, they simply watched, silent sentinels through centuries of intrigue. They watched as kings ascended to power and queens vanished without a trace. They bore witness to the rise and fall of empires, their stone faces never betraying a hint of emotion. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the depths of night, when moonlight cast eerie shadows across the courtyards, the Alhambra took on a different character. The Lion Fountain continued its eternal vigil, water flowing from stone mouths, as it had for centuries. In the distance, a door might creak open, then close just as quickly. Who walked the halls at such an hour? A restless royal, a spy on a clandestine mission, or perhaps a ghost reliving intrigues long past. Today, tourists wander through these same chambers. They marvel at intricate tilework, run their hands along cool stone walls, and admire the artistry that has endured for centuries, but they see only the surface, the beauty that was meant for the world's eyes. Beneath it all, for those who know how to sense it, the soft scent of fear still lingers. It's in the shadows that fall just so. In the way sound echoes off ancient walls, the Alhambra remembers those whose names were never carved into its stones, yet who shaped the very soul of the palace all the same. The concubine who whispered just the right words to avert a war. The eunuch whose loyalty saved a prince's life. The servant who chose silence over a fortune in bribes. Their stories may be lost to time, but their influence resonates through the centuries. In the heart of the royal chambers, life pulsed with a rhythm all its own. Days were marked not by the sun's passage, but by the ebb and flow of court politics. Alliances formed and shattered like delicate glass. Promises were made in the soft light of dawn, only to be broken by nightfall. The women of the harem were far more than ornaments. They were keepers of knowledge, wielders of soft power that could topple kingdoms. A well-placed word here, a strategic silence there. These were the weapons of those who lived behind the curtain. Some found solace in faith, their prayer rugs facing Mecca 5 times a day. Others sought comfort in the arts, their fingers dancing across lute strings or weaving intricate tapestries. And always, there was the game of influence and favor. To catch the king's eye was to walk a razor's edge. His attention could bring untold riches, power beyond measure, but it also painted a target on one's back. Rivals watched with envy, waiting for the slightest misstep. The children born within these walls lived lives apart from the world outside. Young princes were raised to rule, their education a mix of poetry and warfare, but they also learned the art of survival, for even brothers could not always be trusted. And what of those who served, the countless hands that kept the royal chambers running smoothly? They moved through secret passages, appeared and disappeared, as if by magic. Their eyes saw everything, their ears heard all. Yet their tongues remained still if they wished to keep their heads. In the kitchens, far from the gilded chambers above, another kind of power played out. Here, a pinch of this or a drop of that could change the course of history. Cooks were both revered and feared, for they held the power of life and death in their seasoned hands. The gardens, too, held their secrets. Lush and fragrant, they were places of respite and romance. But even here, among the roses and jasmine, intrigue bloomed. Lovers met in shadowed alcoves, while spies lurked behind sculpted hedges. As night fell and candles flickered to life, the Alhambra transformed. Shadows danced on intricately carved walls, and the whisper of silk against stone echoed through corridors. This was the time when secrets were traded, when alliances shifted like sand in the desert wind. In the king's private chambers, decisions that would shape empires were made, maps were pored over, treaties drafted, and the fates of thousands decided with the stroke of a pen. But even here, in the heart of power, the king was not truly alone. Eyes watched from behind screens, ears pressed to thin walls. The Alhambra was a world within a world, a place where beauty and danger danced an eternal waltz. Its story is written not just in the grandeur of its architecture, but in the countless untold tales of those who lived, loved, and died within its walls. And so, as we step back from these chambers of secrets and whispers, we carry with us the echoes of a world long past, a world where power was as fragile as a soap bubble, where beauty could be both a blessing and a curse. The Alhambra stands today, a testament to human artistry and ambition. But for those who listen closely, it still whispers of the lives that once filled its halls, of triumphs and tragedies, of love and betrayal, of the eternal dance between power and those who sought to wield it. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars, remembering those whose names may be lost, but whose legacy lives on in every stone of this magnificent palace. The fall of the Alhambra was not a thunderous event. No catapults rained destruction. No firestorms engulfed its towers. Instead, it crumbled under the slow burn of betrayal. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Within those silk-draped halls, whispers of treachery spread like poison. The Christian armies advanced across the plains, their banners a looming threat. The King's Council, once united, now fractured. Some pleaded for negotiation, while others swore to perish before. As debates raged behind closed doors, the lifeblood of the palace began to wane. Water channels, once flowing freely, ran dry. Fountains, symbols of abundance, slowed to a trickle. Gardens, once lush and vibrant, withered under the sun, a stark reminder that even paradise can fade. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the shadows of night, spies crept through hidden passages. Secret missives exchanged hands, bearing promises of pardon for those willing to betray their king. Some guards, their loyalty wavering, slipped away under cover of darkness. Others, steadfast in their duty, remained at their posts, only to face execution at dawn's first light. The palace, a silent witness, absorbed every hushed conversation, every furtive glance, every betrayal, and it remembered those who fled. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. On a night when the moon hid its face, the final decree echoed through empty halls. The Nasrid banner, once proud, was lowered with trembling hands. The keys to the fortress passed from Moorish grasp to Christian conquerors, yet no triumphant cheers rang out. Neither victor nor vanquished found joy in this moment. They stood, silent, in halls that now felt cavernous and strange, their footsteps echoing hollowly, a somber reminder of what was lost. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As dawn broke over Granada, the Alhambra awakened to a new reality. Silk curtains, once shimmering with opulence, were torn down without ceremony. Foreign guards now patrolled its corridors, their unfamiliar faces, a stark contrasto those who had walked these halls for centuries. The melodious call to prayer, which had echoed 5 times daily, was silenced by the tolling of Christian bells. A new era had begun, but the ghosts of the past lingered. In every corner, memories persisted, of concubines who wove intricate plots in silken chambers, of eunuchs who guarded the palace's deepest secrets, of black artisans whose skilled hand had carved beauty into every surface. Their presence remained, etched into the very stones of the Alhambra. In shattered mosaics and cracked fountains, their stories whispered to those who would listen. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. For though the Alhambra fell, it never forgot those who built it, those who lived within its walls, those who defended it to the last. Beauty may burn, empires may crumble, but memory endures. In the intricate patterns of tilework, in the graceful arches of its courtyards, in the whisper of water through ancient channels, the spirit of the Moors lives on. Their legacy, a testament to human artistry and ingenuity, continues to inspire and awe long after the last Nasrid king departed. Let us remember the Alhambra not just as a conquered fortress, but as a living monument to a rich and complex history, a history woven from threads of many cultures, where East met West, where Islam and Christianity collided and coexisted. In its halls, scholars once debated philosophy. Poets composed verses that still echo through time, and astronomers charted the heaven. The fall of the Alhambra marked the end of Moorish rule in Spain, but it did not erase the centuries of knowledge, art, and culture that flourished within its walls. From the intricate mathematical patterns in its tiles to the advanced hydraulic systems that fed its gardens, the Alhambra stands as a testament to Moorish ingenuity. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Even in defeat, the Moors left behind a legacy that would shape the future of Spain and beyond. Their advancements in agriculture, architecture, and science would continue to influence European thought for centuries. The fall of the Alhambra was not just the loss of a fortress, but the closing of a chapter in human history, a chapter filled with both light and shadow, with moments of great achievement and terrible conflict. As we stand now, centuries removed, we can look upon the Alhambra with fresh eyes. We can see beyond the pain of its fall to appreciate the beauty and wisdom it still holds. For in its silent halls and secret gardens, the Alhambra continues to teach us about the fragility of power, about the endurance of art, about the complex tapestry of human history. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The story of the Alhambra's fall is not just a tale of conquest. It is a reminder of the cyclical nature of history, of how cultures rise and fall, blend and separate, of how beauty can emerge from conflict, and how wisdom can survive the ravages of time. As we walk through its courtyards today, we tread in the footsteps of sultans and slaves, of poets and warriors, of artisans and scholars. Each stone, each carving, each reflection in still water tells a story of a world long past, yet ever present. The Alhambra fell, yes, but in falling, it became eternal. A bridge between worlds, a testament to human creativity and resilience, So let us remember the Alhambra not with sorrow, but with wonder and respect. For though its veil burned, its spirit remains unquenched, a beacon of beauty and knowledge, shining across the centuries. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the end, the Alhambra's greatest victory was not in war, but in peace, not in conquest, but in creation, for it stands today, not as a symbol of defeat, but as a testament to the enduring power of human achievement, a reminder that even in our darkest hours, beauty can flourish, that even as empires fall, art and knowledge can rise, that the true legacy of a civilization lies not in its conquests, but in its contributions to the tapestry of human culture. And so, as our tale of the Alhambra's fall comes to a close, let us carry with us the lessons it teaches of resilience in the face of change, of the power of art to transcend time, of the enduring spirit of human creativity. For though the veil burned, the beauty it concealed lives on. In every intricate tile, in every graceful arch, in every whisper of water through ancient stone, the Alhambra fell, but its spirit soars eternal. A testament to the indomitable human spirit and the enduring power of beauty. Beneath the stars, they are remembered. We have walked far tonight, through stone and silence, through battles, scrolls, and water gardens, through stories written not on paper, but in the hearts of those who refuse to be forgotten. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. We met builders, black and Berber, who shaped with blistered hands and knew their names would not be carved in stone, but carved anyway. Their legacy lives on in the intricate patterns adorning ancient walls, in the whispers of forgotten languages echoing through time. We followed Tariq ibn Ziyad, the sea crusader who burned his ships so that history could never return to what it was. His courage ignited a flame that would burn for centuries, illuminating the path for countless others to follow. We wandered the lost cities, where poetry measured time, and scholars lit candles even as the world turned dark. In these hallowed halls, knowledge flourished like a desert bloom, nurtured by the thirst for understanding and the passion of curious minds. And we passed through the palaces, through veils of silk and secrets, past lions who drank from fountains, and guards who knew that power was only ever borrowed. Here, the air still shimmers with the echoes of long-forgotten intrigues, of whispered promises and shattered dreams. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Yes, Al-Andalus is gone. The archers are cracked, the libraries are dust, the names of the black artisans, scribes, generals, concubines, mostly lost. Time has worn away the gilded edges of their stories, leaving only fragments for us to piece together. But tonight, you've walked with them, you've heard their stories, felt their footsteps, sat beside their fire. In the quiet moments between breaths, you've glimpsed the world through their eyes, seen the beauty they created and the challenges they faced. And that is the true power of memory, not to freeze time, but to breathe into it, to infuse the past with life, to make it dance and sing once more beneath the endless sky, to whisper back to the past, I see you, I remember your struggles, your triumphs, your quiet moments of despair and exultation. All of these live on in the stories we tell, in the lessons we learn, in the world we continue to shape. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. So now, let the story fall silent. Let the city rest. Let the builder set down his stone. The night is deep, and the stars above hold secrets of their own, whispered tales of countless civilizations that have risen and fallen beneath their eternal gaze. And may your sleep be deep, your dreams be wide, and your heart always full of the forgotten names who once shaped empires beneath the stars. May you carry with you the wisdom of ages past, the courage of those who dared to dream, and the compassion of souls who understood the true meaning of legacy. As we prepare to part ways, remember that you are now a keeper of these stories, a guardian of memories that might otherwise fade into the sands of time. In your heart, in your words, in your actions, you carry forward the torch of those who came before. The night is old now, and dawn approaches. Soon, the first rays of sunlight will paint the sky, chasing away the stars and bringing with it the promise of a new day. But for now, in this moment of quiet reflection, we honor those who have gone before us, those whose names may be lost but whose spirits endure. Let the gentle breeze carry your thoughts to distant lands and distant times. Let the warmth of the dying embers remind you of the fires that have burned in the hearts of countless generations. And let the vast expanse of the starry sky above remind you of the infinite possibilities that lie ahead, shaped by the echoes of the past. As we bid farewell to this journey through time and memory, know that you carry with you a piece of something greater than yourself. You are now part of a story that stretches back through the ages, a story of human resilience, creativity, and the enduring power of the human spirit. May your path forward be illuminated by the wisdom of those who have gone before. And may you find the courage to leave your own mark on the world, however small it may seem. For in the grand tapestry of history, every thread matters, every voice counts, every life leaves its trace. And so as the night gives way to dawn, we take one last moment to honor those who have shaped our world, those whose names may be forgotten, but whose legacy lives on in the very fabric of our existence. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the whispers of forgotten heroes and the promise of tomorrow.